at this moment in time, if you look at the ownership, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, and usually when those two things happen, it's not right. His record wasn't great. The alignment of what the owners talk about in a long-term project, at the start of the season they had Tuchel, they brought in Aubameyang, they brought in Sterling, they brought in Koulibaly, who were obviously more experienced players. Then they obviously flip-flopped and went to a longer-term manager, brought in loads of young players on 8-year deals and spent 600 million quid. They are a little bit all over the shop. I described them as chaotic at the start of the season. I'm not changing my mind. It is a little bit like Football Manager, the kids in the sweet shop. And the fact of the matter is they gave the manager too many sweets and he didn't know which one to pick, and it was a case of it being a bit of a mess at the end. And they've got to somehow try and resurrect that decision on Saturday, to somehow try and resurrect something from this season. It wouldn't put it past me, or it wouldn't put it past Chelsea. It'd be very Chelsea to go and win the Champions League from a position like this if you were thinking about the Abramovich era. It's whether Bowley and his era is going to bring that same level of type of performance.
Did you ever feel that this relationship between Potter and Chelsea was going to work?
No. That's not being clever after the event. I just looked at the man they had in charge, Thomas Tuchel, one of the top managers in European football. You don't sack Thomas Tuchel and go to Graham Potter. And again, I'm trying to not be too disrespectful, but, the track record of both managers, of course, there must have been problems behind the scenes with the new owner and Thomas Tuchel, I get that. But he should have just stuck with Thomas Tuchel. Now, the reason I don't think it was ever a good fit is because I think Chelsea, alongside Real Madrid, I would say, are probably the most ruthless, or two of the most ruthless clubs in how they deal with managers. Now, it's OK Todd Bowley coming in and saying, we're going to do it different to Roman Abramovich. I don't care what he says. Those supporters, for the last 20 years, have been brought up on a culture of winning trophies and changing managers and getting Champions League winning managers coming in every 2 or 3 years. So they're saying to Graham Potter at the weekend, you don't know what you're doing, chanting things like that. That's one of the reasons why he's gone. So it doesn't matter what the owner says, that's what they've been brought up on at that club. But, so the appointment was wrong straight away. Now, I'm not saying Graham Potter couldn't work for a big club. It's just not the right fit. It was too ruthless at that club. And the reason I actually think it was the right thing to do is because we'll say that Graham Potter hasn't been given time. I get that. But when you haven't got a massive CV behind you or big trophies, you've got to hit the ground running. We had Rafa Benitez at Liverpool. We won the Champions League at the end of the season, but for a lot of that season, it was very up and down. But in the back of your mind as a player and as a supporter, you're thinking, this is the guy who's won 2 La Ligas with Valencia. He knows what he's doing. Graham Potter doesn't have that, unfortunately, so he had to be right off it, out the traps. And the reason I think it was the right decision is, what is the worst thing that can ever happen to a club is, they're not sure about a manager. They think, let's get to the end of the season, we'll give him the pre-season. You start the first 5 games of the season, he loses 2, wins 1, draws 2, and you sack him. And then you've got a manager who's bought players through the summer and you're chasing your tail yet again. Now, I agree with everything he said about Todd Bowley. I've been very critical of Todd Bowley, but I think this is the first decision he's got right.
Okay. I think if you're Graham Potter, I suspect Graham Potter is a good man. And I reckon he'll, to be fair, gone home after he's been sacked, whenever that was, yesterday morning or the morning before or the night before. And actually, I bet there's an element of relief. I don't think he was enjoying it there. I think he'll have thought it was mad. What he's been used to in terms of what his view is of football, I think he'll have seen what was going on behind the scenes. They lost Petr Cech and Marina Granovskaya at the start of the season. That wasn't planned. They lost Tuchel. That wasn't planned. He's come into a club that's in massive transition. They've paid billions of pounds. They don't know what they're doing, to be fair. They're learning on the job. And he's probably just think, these lot are mad. And he actually, the sporting director, the briefings in the last 24 hours are such that the sporting director, Winstanley and Stewart, Winstanley, who we knew from Brighton, have obviously made the decision to let Graham Potter go.
So do you think they will choose the next manager?
Well, they probably will choose the next manager, but just dealing with Graham Potter at this moment in time, I suspect that Graham Potter's obviously gone to Winstanley. He'll have known him from Brighton and said, get me out of here, because it doesn't suit me. I don't think Chelsea were enjoying Graham Potter, but I don't think Graham Potter was enjoying Chelsea. And I, in some ways, almost feel like he should treat it as a little bit of a nightmare, like this season never happened in his life. Wake up and basically come back there. Have to be like Bobby Ewing, if you remember that from Dallas. You remember that from Dallas in the 1980s?
He's been practising this
honestly, it was like, if you don't know Bobby Ewing at home, Bobby Ewing was this character who basically disappeared for a whole season, came back at the start of the next season. It was almost like a nightmare from the previous season. He woke up and just carried on acting. Graham Potter should almost feel as though this never happened in his life and just put it to bed as being like a mad episode. Honestly,
a more modern equivalent might be the Men in Black.
Yeah, well, sorry, I can't give modern equivalents.
So do you think they have the capability within that structure to get this next decision right and move on to be successful? Perhaps not this season, but next.
Well, it's what they do. Do they go back to this idea of a young up-and-coming coach like Graham Potter, maybe who's got a little bit more of a CV behind him, maybe the players will get behind it a little bit more, but that club is used to bringing in managers, and managers who are available right now, where you think off the top of your head, Zidane, Enrique, Nagelsmann, managers who've managed at the top level. This is what Chelsea have done in the past. I know it was a different owner, and I'm not being critical at all, and I don't like some of the criticism Chelsea have got. Oh, they've sacked another manager. It works for them. I don't care. They win trophies, they change managers, and when you're a manager going into Chelsea, you know what the score is. So don't complain when you actually lose your job, because that club has been very successful with that culture.
Right, everything that Chelsea are saying and Bowley's saying is that they spent 600 million and they've done their spending apart from a centre forward for the next 3 years. If they sign Zidane, Simeone, Enrique, they're going to want another 300 million because they won't like some of the players they've signed. They've got to appoint a manager who's going to inherit and like the squad that they've got. I think that man, because a lot of them are young, is Pochettino.